Hello, hello, person watching this. Something that is dropping in really deeply for me right now after a live meditation with Bentinho Massaro in a hot bath just now during his meditation retreat this month is the beauty, the power, the clarity, the peace, the flow of rooting yourself in the Is-Ness, rooting yourself in the transcendent present, the transcendent presence of being. This may sound abstract. Another way to say it is just seeing that being is the most fundamental. Being. And if you meditate and you look closely at what is prior to your thoughts, what is prior to the labeling process that labels the world this or that, prior to that, there's just this primordial presence, this primordial beingness, this Is-Ness. You can't say much more about it. It's just it's a field of aliveness that permeates your entire field of experience. And yet it also transcends that field of experience. You can feel how your experiences really only become experiences once that process of labeling is initiated. When you create me here experiencing that over there, which is conceptual. Prior to that, there's just this amorphous, etheric, vibrating aliveness, this presence, this radiant, amorphous presence that is unpindownably, indefinably, indescribably dancing, moving, accomplishing itself here, generating various textures and flavors, but those textures and flavors don't become textures and flavors or colors, sights, sounds, me, this, time, space, until we generate the conceptual layer that allows us to have experiences like that. So what is prior to the conceptual layer? If you strip things down, you go back to infant mind, what is prior to the conceptual layer? There's just this astonishing presence, this astonishing vibrating space of aliveness that doesn't have a particular duration. It doesn't have a particular distance. It's immediate. It's omnipresent. It's just this vibrating field of aliveness. And who cares, right? Who cares about this? Maybe you don't. Maybe this is totally irrelevant. If so, that's completely fine. Completely fine. In my life, the discovery of this vibrating field of aliveness, let's call it, this Is-Ness that underlies phenomena, that underlies conceptually generated experience, has become over time something very important. I would say increasingly directly seeing and experiencing this has changed the quality of my experience dramatically. And I'm recently being reminded of the true power of it because for the last few months, I mostly did not actively attempt to notice or practice or contemplate this isness, there was still this background knowingness of the isness. Once you've kind of accessed this layer of your experience and directly notice that this layer of your experience is there, then you know it on some level, that everything is this one substance, this one power, this one intelligent energy. You can just directly feel and notice this by non-conceptually engaging with your experience, non-conceptually noticing the actuality, the totality, the indivisibleness of what's here, the oneness. So anyway, I didn't really do much deliberate practice the last few months. So there was this background knowingness, and I've recently begun to practice again, I'm attending this meditation retreat this month digitally with Bentinho Massaro. That would be the most directly that I'm re-engaging this practice. And what I'm finding is profound. I'm finding that background knowingness of the isness provides a certain fundamental level of peace and trust, because this isness, one of the beautiful things about it is that it's entirely at peace with itself. It's entirely unaffected by what seems to happen within the domain of our conceptually defined experiences. It's just always the isness. It's just always being this pure open space of unconditional acceptance. So if you know that that's there, and if you know that that is a more fundamental level of what you are than the conceptual constructions, which are also real in some sense, but are entirely made, they're real within their own context, they're experientially real, but they're entirely made of isness, entirely made of presence, radiant presence, entirely made of this formless infinity. And what I've noticed is just the power of re-engaging with that. It really clarifies everything. It helps you realize, it has helped me realize that while I haven't been practicing as much and noticing as much, I've subtly been lured back into certain ways of engaging with my conceptually defined experience. I've been lured back into reactionary and compensatory patterns and mechanisms as a result of not prioritizing coming from isness. So I've noticed myself falling into loops of just kind of compulsorily feeling like I should be doing something, or I need to be doing something. I need to be, it's a crazy time, tectonic changes in the world. I need to be asserting myself. I need to be attempting to change something. I need to be enacting something. And that was coming more from just this old, deeply ingrained cultural conditioning mechanism that, for one, just says, make yourself useful. You should always be doing something. Do, go, go. And also this deeply ingrained sense of, oh, if something intense is happening in the world, if something appears to be going suboptimally in the world, we need to do something about it. We need to fix it. We need to address it. And probably also somewhat coming out of this residual level from which I derive a sense of self-worth from projecting my energy into the world and using my voice and saying things and taking actions and attempting to, signaling that I am virtuous, signaling that I am a good actor. There's crazy subtle levels of this in going on with most of us most of the time. And when you get back in touch with the isness, when you start to dissolve your experience back into the isness, one way to do this is just to drop back into non-knowing, dropping back into non-knowing, where you cease to cherish your opinions. Like Sung San said, do not seek truth, only cease to cherish your opinions. Non-knowing is another portal to the isness. When you stop pretending that your concepts, your opinions, your viewpoints, your takes, hot takes on reality are anything more than conceptual fabrications. When you really, once again, see and acknowledge that these conceptual fabrications can never equal, can never contain reality, that reality is always far beyond your conceptual fabrication. And also, even further than that, that you have no ownership over your own opinions. They're not your opinions. Nothing is yours in that sense of being tied to this body that you've designated as you. Because more fundamentally, you just are this entire dancing field of isness, and every opinion is your opinion, and no opinion is your opinion. And both are true at the same time, and neither are true at the same time. And far beyond that. And so yeah, it's just been illuminating to see how reconnecting with the isness has begun to illuminate that some of my action taking, some of my thought processes, some of my expressing has been coming from old patterns, is coming from, perfectly beautiful and okay machinery within myself, within my conditioned personality, that through a lack of deeper presence just begins to kind of take over on autopilot. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing, ideally, I would have no judgment about that of myself and others. Things just are as they are. We're all doing what makes sense to us within our given context at all times. And that's all I've been doing too. But what I notice is just the awesome clarifying power of that isness, of that beingness, not as a weird abstract concept, but as an embodied fundamental experience, embodying that, rooting that in, noticing that, allowing that isness to permeate your entire field of experience, so that you deepen in the conviction, in the noticing that everything you see and experience is comprised fundamentally of nothing other than isness, oneness, peace, just this intelligent energy, this intelligent, awake emptiness, meaning empty of anything pin downable, anything that you could ever actually say what it is or conceptualize, just this formless, unsayable peace. The isness is the portal to this formless, unsayable, spacious peace that is the fundamental substratum of what we experience in this world of forms. This, at least, is something that I've directly experienced on many occasions and can tap into a phenomenological and experiential sense of this, more or less, when I attempt to do so, when I concentrate and try to do so. And the more that you tap into that isness, the more that you root yourself there, the more that you do that, the more you realize that it's okay to just be. You can just really slow down. You can really slow down and just be. You can just shut off the doing, if that's what feels right for you at the time, and you can just let the dust settle. You can just be, because you realize that being is what everything is already doing at a more fundamental level anyway. First, you have to have being, then you can have doing. Being is underneath that. It's more fundamental than that. you realize that you can just allow everything to be what it is. You can just allow everything to be. And from that space of being, when you really slow down and you stop just running around like a chicken with your head cut off, as Bentino sometimes says, and just running around being driven by these compulsory and compensatory and conditioned behavioral mechanisms of your personality, then the portal opens up to just so much more peace and authenticity, where you're not just taking actions and saying words in an attempt to gain something for yourself, in an attempt to acquire something, in an attempt to just fill the space, or out of some just compensatory or compulsory mechanism, which again is all fine. It all just is what it is. But this capacity opens up to just really slow down in life, to really come back to this moment now in life, this one eternal moment now, and just to remember that fundamental unity and peace that all of this is made of. And then from that place of deep relaxation, actions can still arise, words can still arise, but there will be this deeper peace, this deeper sovereignty, this deeper knowing that beneath the apparent undulations of form in this world, there is this formless peace. There is this deeper peace. There's this level where the mystery of being is fundamentally okay with itself. Fundamentally okay with itself. Fundamentally at peace. And there's just a way in which coming from that place changes everything. Rooting yourself increasingly in that place changes everything. Your nervous system relaxes at a deep level, which is another way of stating the secret to life. If you have a tense, tight, contracted nervous system, it doesn't matter what your external circumstances look like, you're going to feel like something is wrong. You're going to feel not at peace. You're going to feel insecure and anxious. Whereas if you have a relaxed nervous system, then whatever the circumstances happen to be, you're going to be at peace. You're going to be in flow. You're going to be okay with what is happening. And when you have a relaxed nervous system, when you're coming from the Is-Ness, when you're seeing clearly that concepts and opinions are not yours, you just start to automatically behave in a different paradigm. You automatically stop becoming so attached to your opinion and your narrative. You stop trying to push your opinion so hard on others. You stop getting so defensive, so triggered when people disagree with your opinion about what is happening or what should or should not be happening in the world. You just let go of ownership of that. So you become much more calm, much more non-polarizing, non-reactive, which in itself already allows your beingness to permeate and penetrate more deeply into the energy of those around you. The more that you're trying to force, trying to convince, trying to getting defensive, trying to argue, the less that you actually get through to anyone. The more that you just push people away, because people, the last thing anyone wants is to be forcibly convinced of something. You just entrench people more deeply. Whereas if you feel no need to convince, if you feel no need to impose your will on the world, then automatically your beingness in that paradigm radiates a different energy that begins to have a more, paradoxically, a more powerful effect on the world and on those around you than anything you could have done from the level of coming from coming from a need to prove something, a need to assert something, a need to be right, a need to have your opinions match up with reality, a need for others to see it that way too, a need to force them to see it that way too. Just being in that different paradigm is already more powerful, already has a more powerful effect. And then if you do use words and actions that arise purely from that beingness, they will be words that will be non-polarizing, non-reactive, non-triggered, just calmly diagnosing the situation according to one's experience, while also realizing that that's just one angle that one doesn't actually really own, just one angle in this infinite eye-jeweled Alex Gray painting kind of fractal God matrix where God, Is-Ness, beingness, mystery is looking at itself through all these different fractal angles, having all these different experiences of itself. So you will just increasingly cease to cherish your opinions, cease to take ownership of them. And then they might actually have a chance of having people engage with them, having people actually listen to what you're saying and consider your words on their own merits and see if those words are meant to, marinate in their thought soup and occasion some insights, some shifts. And the same with your actions. If you're not coming from this kind of violent, aggressive, I need to push the world into a certain shape energy, if you're just coming from, okay, this is what I am, this is what I see, I'm fundamentally just being, I'm okay with what is here, but action is spontaneously arising within me because that's a large part of what I am as a human being in this particular realm. Action is a key part of what tends to occur. And so maybe I'm spontaneously compelled to write a poem or make some art or start a cryptocurrency or go buy land in Guatemala, whatever it is. It's like Lao Tzu says in the Tao Te Ching, can you be still and wait for the dust to settle, wait for your water to clear, and then allow the right action to arise spontaneously of its own accord, to arise by itself? That's what living from the beingness is like. It's not this like frantic running from this to that, like, oh, I need to find a solution, I need to figure this out. It's just this like deep rooted trust that everything is already figured out. Everything is already okay. You already are everything. You already are infinity. You have access to infinite resources. That's what this isness is the portal to. It's the portal to the understanding that you are infinite intelligence, infinite abundance, infinite possibility. You have access to whatever the universe has access to, whatever the multiverse has access to, and far beyond that, because that is your fundamental nature, because there's one power and you are one with that power. So you can, and you feel and see and know that this is your essence and that it's infinitely intelligent and that it effortlessly embraces every aspect of itself. And that allows for this profoundly deep level of trust, right? This profoundly deep level of trust in infinity. And so you wait for the dust to settle, you wait for the mud to clear, you get back to the isness, you get back to that deep relaxation, that deep trust. And suddenly, intuitive intelligence, direct seeing, clarity is going to dawn on you, and you can just, almost as if perpetually in a flow state, you can just do what spontaneously arises, the honorable Tao aligned action that is spontaneously arising. And, it doesn't have to be honorable Tao aligned action. Whatever arises already is the Is-Ness. Whatever arises is the oneness. Whatever arises is totally okay. At the same time, perhaps commitment to honor, commitment to integrity may be a good idea in life, whatever that means to you. I can recommend it. So there's that piece. That's where the word honorable came from. Tao aligned action, I would say, is you in your natural state, you in your deepest authenticity, you coming from stillness, coming from isness, you waiting for the dust to settle, and then allowing spontaneous right action to arise by itself. That is Tao aligned action. And Tao aligned action tends to be the most sort of magical action that you can take in the world. It flows the most effortlessly, the most naturally from your being. And it tends to have the highest leverage in terms of spontaneously, synchronistically aligning things in such a way that whatever you truly need is placed before you. Whatever you truly need arises. And you just increasingly are in this trust. It's living in the gift, living in the Tao, acting spontaneously in accordance with the way of things, in the flow, and allowing things to align themselves right before your eyes. This is what is possible. The more, and it's actually what's happening all the time. This is what is already happening all the time. Everything is just effortlessly, flowingly doing itself all the time. The more deeply you come into the isness, the more you can actually see this in your own experience and trust it in your own experience. So you come to this much deeper relaxation, this deeper state of non-action, non-doing, which doesn't mean inaction. It just means non-forcing, non-pushing, but just allowing action to arise spontaneously of its own accord. And so anyway, to conclude, just this practice that has begun to open up in the last couple weeks through diving deeper back through that portal, that already existing portal to the isness, to the beingness, I've already noticed certain like bubbles popping, bubbles of more relative conceptual perspectives that I was attached to and taking ownership of popping as I return to a deeper layer of isness, which results in this deeper peace, this deeper relaxation, and this deeper knowing that everything is perfectly okay and is going to be perfectly okay. This deeper trust and faith that whatever doors need to open are going to open, whatever needs to be provided is going to be provided, whatever is going to happen is going to happen, and it all simply is as it is. And it all simply is made of that primordial, indestructible, awake beingness, that blank, that no thingness, intelligent infinity, space, spaciousness, suchness. Can't put words to it. Mystery. Call it what you like, but words only point at it. What you want is the direct experience of it. Although initially beginning to just simply intuit it and have conviction in it, have faith that these words are not just total nonsense. On some level, if you're listening to this, you likely are feeling something in you that is responding to these words, something in you that is on some level saying, recognizing these words because they're coming from that isness that you are also made of. They're coming from that primordial substance. This is actually just isness talking to itself right now. So if you can notice that and trust that intuition, if you want to, it's completely up to you. Take what resonates, let go of what doesn't. But the more that you trust that type of signal, whether it's coming from, me or any other anything else that reminds you of the isness. Could be a cat, could be a cloud, could be a Jed McKenna book, whatever it is, Peter Brown book, whatever it is. The more you can begin to trust that intuitive knowing that these words are referring to something important, something rather profound and interesting, the more you can deepen that conviction that that is the case, and the more you can intellectually and intuitively begin to grasp what is pointed at by symbols, symbolic, linguistic mouth noises such as isness, beingness, then the closer you can get to having an opening where you actually have a direct experiential or direct seeing type of realization of this isness, where you're just like, oh, like it's overwhelming. The isness, first it may be subtle, but then there can be experiences where the isness just completely takes over and you're meditatively absorbed, and the isness is really appearing to be and showing itself to be more real, more fundamental than the conceptually designated world of your day-to-day experience. So, yeah. Anyway, I just kind of felt like sharing about that, rambling about that. Hope something here was useful. I'm feeling inspired to practice more, to more deeply root myself in the isness, thanks to just seeing how much easier everything becomes. You're then able to really chuckle at everything and see that this is all a play, this is all a dance, this is all a game for our enjoyment, for our education, for our amusement, that is arising within consciousness, within conscious isness, conscious energy. This game is arising, and again, the game is still experientially real, and at times, it's really real down here. This particular realm, this particular earthly experience is, no joke at times, and it is experientially real. And yet, the more you're in touch with these deeper layers that are changeless, that are always there, that are deathless, that don't come and go, like these more ephemeral, more illusory layers, then the more you're able to just be in the world but not of the world, in the game but not of the game, in the play but not of the play. And then it just becomes more fun, more relaxing, first of all, and everything just becomes easier because your words and actions automatically become wiser. You don't really have to premeditate them. They just come from a deeper place. The more you're rooted in this isness, you won't be as triggered. You won't be as reactive. You will automatically assess things in a wiser, less biased fashion. And your actions will arise from that same energy. So they'll be closer to your natural state, which just moves through the world like a hot knife through butter, just effortlessly. It's only when we're completely caught up in our conceptual distinctions and definitions and attached to those definitions that we experience resistance, that we experience a lot of contraction and pain, and it seems like life is a slog. That occurs when we are attached to our beliefs and concepts about reality. And that's reality's way of showing us that our beliefs and concepts are not reality. When we are mistaking those for reality, things become a lot more contracted and challenging, because reality is trying to wake us up to the fact that we are out of alignment with reality. We're not seeing the deeper layer. We're not in contact with that infant mind, that beginner mind that just blank, sees light, radiance, unpindownable mystery. So that is, in essence, why I can recommend crazy hair going deeper into Is-Ness, rooting yourself there, embodying Is-Ness. Of course, again, do you do whatever you like. Maybe this isn't even relevant in this lifetime for you. I mean, if you watch this much of the video, it probably is. So, you know, to the extent that you feel drawn to do so, if it feels fun and interesting to do so, go deeper into the Is-Ness. Notice the Is-Ness. Root yourself there. Root yourself in the Is-Ness. That's what's dropping in really deep for me today. And I just wanted to share. And again, it's not actually better or worse to do this. Every path is valid. Every word is valid. Every action is valid. It's all valid. But just know that rooting yourself more deeply in the Is-Ness is the path to deeper peace and wisdom, experiential peace and flow. Although, paradoxically, the more that you're seeking the Is-Ness from that place of, oh, this is going to solve my problems, I just want effortless flow, then the Is-Ness might evade you. You have to sincerely be seeking the truth of your experience, the truth of your existence. You have to really sincerely want to know what is more fundamental than table, body, shirt, microphone. What are these made of? What is the fundamental nature of phenomena? You've got to want to know that, and then you can start to engage non-conceptually with your experience and discover the Is-Ness. All right. I think that's going to do it for me. I didn't know that I was going to talk for 37 minutes. That was a rather lengthy dialogue, but I really enjoyed that. I hope this was enjoyable for you too. I think I would like to do more spontaneous dialoguing, so maybe I'll do more videos like this. Yeah, feel free to pass this on if you think someone would find this useful. Feel free to comment, like, or subscribe, and just give me some kind of wink from the universe, letting me know that this landed for someone. Yeah, or don't, whatever you like. Meanwhile, I will be most likely rooting myself more deeply in the Is-Ness unless something else happens to become more appealing. All right. Peace and love, y'all. Take it easy. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.